Good morning, I'm Maddie Jansen, and this is the podcast of 17 News at Sunrise. It's everything you need to know to start your day in about 15 minutes. And good morning. Great to have you with us. It is 5 a.m. on this Wednesday. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher and Kevin Charette.
Yeah, and this is a special edition of 17 News at Sunrise because tonight is the first Democratic debate of the 2020 presidential election. We'll have team coverage coming up. But first, a look at your beautiful forecast.
It really is.
It started already.
The election,
cool down?
Political year.
The cool down and
It's
that.
already started, but yeah, now we've got the opens and everything else.
So it's really,
Here we go again.
It's really starting now, for sure.
And weather cooling down a little bit. Welcome back, Maddie. And she's been enjoying a little time off.
Been moving.
Yeah. The beautiful area of
Tehachapi.
Yeah. A little cooler up that way, right?
It's a little cooler. I've been enjoying that.
That's very
nice.
Yesterday, I sprawled out on the deck.
I listened to the forecast in the evening, and I always listen. And actually, my kids even do it now. They're like, "Mom, they said Tehachapi."
And you're like, "Yep, that's where we are now."
Well, everybody's going to get a little bit of a cool down here as we go throughout the next few days. So that's a good news. Let's talk about yesterday, and we were in the upper 90s around the area. Bakersfield actually hit 98 degrees. Now, the record is 112, and that was set back in 1957, so we're well off from that. As we take a look at the current temperature right now for Bakersfield, 68 degrees, so nice and comfortable for you. We have a light north-northeast wind at 5, and as we take a look at the day, we'll be right near 70, and then noontime temperature of 81, 3 o'clock sunny skies, and 91 degrees. For the mountains, 54 degrees right now in Tehachapi, a northwest wind at 9, and as we take a look at the overall day, starting out in the 50s and 70s throughout the afternoon.
The stage is set. The first 10 of 20 Democratic presidential candidates face off tonight. It's part of a two-night debate hosted by NBC News.
Yeah, we have team coverage this morning. That's where this is all happening in Miami at the Adrian Center for the Performing Arts. Savannah Guthrie, Lester Holt, Chuck Todd, Rachel Maddow, and Jose Diaz-Balart will moderate those debates.
It all kicks off at 6 o'clock right here on TV 17. 17's Vanessa Dillon joins us this morning in the newsroom with a preview. Vanessa?
That's right, Maddie. Tonight's debate will be one of the biggest to set the tone for the 2020 presidential election. All eyes will be on 10 of the 20 Democratic candidates ready to change things up in Washington. But the first Democratic debate is just the beginning of what many are calling a long road ahead. Now that's why we're here to give you a breakdown of what you need to know before you watch. Some of the big names you should keep an eye on include New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, and New York Mayor Bill de Blasio. The second group appearing on tomorrow's stage include Vermont Senator and former Democratic lead Bernie Sanders, California Senator Kamala Harris, and former Vice President Joe Biden. Those who didn't make the cut include Montana Governor Steve Bullock. He barely missed the cut, hitting 1% in 2 polls. The Democratic National Committee decided the order candidates would take the stage at random, saying their goal was to avoid complaints that were lodged against the Republican National Committee in the run-up to the 2016 election. Something you should also take note of is where tonight's candidates will be standing. Top polling candidates will be placed center stage, while lower polling contenders are closer to the edges of the stage. As far as how candidates were chosen, the DNC set a few rules that narrowed that number down to 20. In order to have been given the green light to participate, candidates had to have received donations from 130,000 different donors, at least 400 from 20 different states. Each also had to have at least hit 2% in 4 different polls. Now, as you mentioned, the debate will air tonight and tomorrow right here on KGET starting at 6 o'clock. Alex, Maddie.
All right, thanks so much, Vanessa. And this is a historically crowded field of Democrats reminiscent of the Republican race in 2016. That's when we saw 17 candidates running, though only 12 made it to the primaries. And preparations for tonight are well underway. In fact, crews were setting up the stage very early yesterday. Here's a live look at the final preparations happening right now at the Adrian Center for the Performing Arts in Miami.
So why is the Sunshine State so important in the race for the White House? It tends to be a swing state. Those are states where the two major political parties have similar levels of support among voters, making their votes important for determining the overall result of a presidential election. California is also very important in the presidential primaries. Coming up in about 30 minutes, 17's Aton Wallace will join us to explain why that's the case and how your vote will make a bigger difference this year than in years past.
And Florida will be a key state for President Trump in the 2020 election.
And that is why tonight I stand before you to officially launch my campaign for a second term as President of the United States.
President Trump kicked off his re-election bid last week in the critical battleground state. There are a few paths to victory that do not include winning the state's 29 electoral votes. You may remember President Trump claimed victory in Florida during the 2016 election. He won the state with 49% of the voters, or 4.6 million votes, compared to Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton's 4.4 million votes.
All right, other news this morning. Tehachapi City leaders and police have reached a deal to keep the city safe. The city and Tehachapi Police Officers Association agreed on a 5-year contract. Police officers will receive about 3.5% cost of living adjustment. They'll also receive an additional $200 for uniforms in the first and third year of the agreement. The city says with the new rates, TPD ranks 4th in starting pay for law enforcement when compared to other Kern and Los Angeles agencies.
The final person wanted in connection with the deadly gang shooting in Delano is behind bars this morning. Police say several people shot 28-year-old Diego Morfin in July 2017. It happened on Clinton Street, not far from Fremont Elementary School. The shooting led to a high-speed chase through Delano, but the suspects got away in Tulare County. 2 men were wanted in this shooting, Sergio Valle and Rosario Perez. Police arrested Valle last May, but Perez was on the run until Monday when police arrested him. He's being charged with murder and gang participation. Perez is being held without bail and is set to appear before a judge later this morning.
5:07 now. There may be a break in one of the ongoing searches along the Kern River. As we've been reporting, search crews have been looking for 2 cousins, ages 15 and 19, who disappeared on Father's Day near Keysville. The sheriff's office says someone found a man's body yesterday about a half-mile downriver from the Keysville camp area. KCSO has not released the identity of that person who was found. Search crews are still looking for an 11-year-old girl who was lost in the river on Saturday, and a Los Angeles man who disappeared about 20 miles north of Kernville. This morning, the sheriff's office is holding a news conference to bring attention to the recent events in the so-called Killer Kern. KCSO says since 2000, 96 people have died in the Kern River. 4 of those people have died just this month. KCSO wants to remind people to stay out and stay alive.
5:07 now in a workplace tragedy. 3 people are dead this morning, including the suspected gunman, after a shooting at a Ford dealership in Northern California. It happened around 6 o'clock last night at the dealership in Morgan Hill. Police believe the shooter was a disgruntled employee or former employee. Officers are still processing the scene and investigating, but they say right now there are no outstanding suspects. A new state law is about to take effect, and it will affect gun owners starting Monday. California will become the first state to require background checks in order to buy bullets. The new law is part of Prop 63 voters passed in 2016. The measures coincides with the state's requirement for background checks in order to buy a gun. Since 1993, background checks have led to more than 1 million denials of gun sales to people not allowed to buy them. Parts of Prop 63 have been tied up in court, including the measure that goes into effect next week. Critics like the NRA say it is unconstitutional, but some of the state's top leaders say it's another important effort to curb gun violence.
Gun violence devastates not just our communities, it devastates our homes. It devastates our schools. It devastates our workplace.
Gun safety laws save lives. The extreme rhetoric on the other side that works against basic common sense has to be called out for what it is.
Another part of Prop 63 that's tied up in the courts, a ban of high-capacity magazines in California, an accessory used in recent mass shootings. Regardless of the legal hurdles, state leaders are eager for the new law to take effect.
He's the ultimate brave boy, G-Man strong. His name's Grayson Franklin, and this weekend the community will join together to support the little fighter.
Once I heard the doctor tell me, we're going to get it, then we put our fighting faces on.
That was 3 years ago when Grayson Franklin went in for a routine dental checkup. His doctor found a sore in his mouth, x-rays, blood work, and a biopsy later. Grayson was diagnosed with Langerhans cell histiocytosis, a rare form of cancer that attacks his autoimmune system.
I've prided myself on being able to take care of my family, and to be able to not take the pain from him was a killer to me.
Last year, his family thought he completed his chemo treatments. That was until a couple months ago. On April 15th, his fight began once again.
We're about 10 weeks into his second diagnosis. He has a sinus tumor this go-around. Last go-around it was a jaw tumor.
Through it all, Grayson has been the ultimate brave boy, G-Man strong.
He's been doing pretty well with his chemo treatment and keeping a good spirit through this process.
Grayson is on week 10 of an expensive 54-week treatment plan. It's a tough battle for the Franklin family.
It's definitely hard to try and process as a parent. You know, you thought you beat it, and then for it to come back, it's definitely, you lose a lot of hope.
But they're still fighting. Now, our little superhero is out meeting a few heroes of his own.
Okay, so Make-A-Wish has granted Grayson a trip, and he chose to go where?
Disneyland.
Sit up, tell us. Where are we going? Disneyland.
Grayson is at Disneyland having a blast, but will return for Graysons Gala on Saturday at Harvest Hall at the Kern County Fairgrounds. It starts at 5:30 p.m. and the cost is $55 a ticket. Money raised will help pay for Grayson's medical expenses. For tickets, go to our website, kget.com, and click the hot link icon. Guys, we'll send it back over to you at the desk.
5:24 now. One airline's letting some passengers get out of their booked trips to the Dominican Republic. Delta Airline says it will give waivers to passengers who have tickets to Punta Cana. That's where at least 10 American visitors have died within the last year. Delta passengers must rebook their travel to the DR before November 20th. They can also choose to get credit to fly somewhere else. As for other destinations in the Dominican Republic, Delta says it will work with passengers on a case-by-case basis. American, JetBlue, and Sun Country Airlines say they'll also work with their passengers who want to change or cancel Dominican flights. A declined credit card can make a trip to the store or a dinner out inconvenient and embarrassing. Money expert Stacey Johnson explains why cards are declined and what you can do to prevent it.
And I was out of the area, and I went to use a credit card to travel with, and it was declined because of some kind of miscommunication.
Most of us have been there. You use a credit card to pay for something, and it gets declined.
You know, it used to be there was only one reason your credit card would get declined, because you overspent your limit. These days, though, there are lots of reasons it could be declined, and not all of them have to do with money.
First, unusual activity. Big purchases like electronics or jewelry, maybe multiple purchases, can exceed a purchase limit and cause a security decline. Solution? Know the card's daily spending limits and call your company before you buy big-ticket items. Next, your personal information doesn't match. Enter the wrong zip code at the gas pump, your card's going to get declined. Solution? Keep your info up to date, especially when you change addresses. Also an issue, you've got a hold on the account. Hotels and rental car companies often place a hold on credit cards, tying up part of your credit line for several days. Solution, ask how much the hold is and plan your card use around it. And always have a backup card if you can. Another reason, international purchases. Charges from another country will often get declined as a security precaution. Solution, tell your card company when you'll be traveling or purchasing something overseas. And finally, expired cards. Make sure your cards are current, especially if you don't use them much.
Bottom line, a declined credit card can be as embarrassing as it is inconvenient. So be sure and keep your bank up to date, know what your limits are, keep track of everything, and you can try to avoid this as much as possible. But for more information, you can also go to moneytalksnews.com. Just do a search for credit cards. For Money Talks News, I'm Stacey Johnson.
Money Talks is brought to you by your local consumer credit counseling service. If you've got debt problems or just want some free budget counseling, call today.